The Physician's Road. Create your life in medicine. On your own terms. Today, we are on the path of personal development.
The Physician's Road is brought to you by Vernonville Asset Management. Vernonville Asset Management was created to help physicians build wealth and create income beyond Wall Street. Through our exclusive private investments, doctors can begin to free themselves from the burdensome regulations in healthcare by creating income streams independent of medicine. Go to IncomeBeyondWallStreet.com to get your free report, Wall Street's Biggest Lie. Again, go to IncomeBeyondWallStreet.com to get Wall Street's Biggest Lie and free yourself today.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Eric Tait here on the Physician's Road podcast again. Today, we're on the path to personal development, and I'm happy to have our SOMEDOCs queen, Dr. Donna Corriel. You may know her as Dr. Corriel, or on social media, she is the kind of face and progenitor and creator of SOMEDOCs. And for those of you who don't know what SOMEDOCs stands for, we will get into that. But if you don't know, you really should. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Donna Corriel. So Donna, tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up and kind of where did you train and kind of what's your specialty?
Hi, Eric. First of all, thank you so much for having me on this. The bottom line is that, and the little secret here is that my husband is actually an Eric Tait groupie. He loves your podcast and he listens. So hi, Jared Corriel. He's a cardiologist. He's a physician too. So we appreciate your podcasting. So that's A. But B, about me. So I am a board certified internist. My past involves growing up, actually being born and growing up out of the country. I was raised in Israel for half my life, or for some of my life for 10 years. I then moved to Los Angeles to a little place called Walnut, California, where I was raised for the remainder of my youth. And then I went to UCLA. I got a Bachelor of Science degree in neuroscience. And then I went straight from there to medical school back to Israel, where I was born, to Tel Aviv University, Sackler. It was an American program, and it was the place where I met my husband in medical school. We came back to to New York City, actually, where my husband is from, and I did an internal medicine residency at Albert Einstein Montefiore Hospital. He was at Mount Sinai. And that's it. And then I went out afterwards with my internal medicine degree, and I got a job at Mount Sinai at the World Trade Center Monitoring Program. And I then, I had 3 beautiful boys during the interim. And then I basically went to outpatient internal medicine practice, which I do now. And then this whole SOMEDOCs thing sort of exploded. So we'll definitely get into that now.
Absolutely. And so just for everybody to understand, what does SOMEDOCs stand for?
So the word SoMe is short for social media. It's kind of like the hip way to say social media nowadays. So SOMEDOCs is short for social media doctors, or doctors on social media, which is the way that I originally branded the group that we're going to talk about. And when I say group, I'm referring to a private physician-only Facebook group that is on Facebook, and it's called Doctors on Social Media. The reason we shortened it to SOMEDOCs was originally because we needed to find a way to use for a proper hashtag, and good hashtags are short, they're concise, and they convey exactly what you're trying to say.
Got it. So let's talk a little bit about internal medicine. So you chose to be an internist. Why that specialty?
I really love the connections that people can make in the office with an internist. I didn't want to have to choose a specific organ system when I was practicing medicine. And I'm just in general a very people person. And so to me, there is nothing more rewarding than continuity of care in a primary care setting.
Got it. Actually, that's actually my exact story as well. I went to medical school, thought I was going to be a surgeon, and the continuity of care really is what kind of drove me towards internal medicine, and then being able to see the breadth of the medical field, because outside of pediatrics, we pretty much touch everything. So I get that absolutely completely. And so let's talk about Dr. Corriel. What is that? What was it? Tell us about it.
Sure. So Dr. Corriel was the way that I sort of branded myself originally. I decided that I needed to do something outside of medicine that was more of an outlet to the creative side of me. I'm just in general a very creative person, and I really discovered that during my break away from medicine when I wasn't practicing for a few years, when I stayed home with my children. And so in order to tap into that creativity and to continue to foster that, I decided that even when I went back into medicine, I would find a way to channel it. And I found it in a brand. So I created Dr. Corriel, and I decided that I wanted to write, which is why I started a website that was called Dr. Corriel, and which I continue to write on today when I have the time. It's a website, it's a blog, it's a way for me to write things that are both useful and funny. I write creative stories on it that sometimes have to do with healthcare, sometimes with parenting, but it's a way for me to just sort of vent my creativity. And I do that across other platforms too. So I've sort of branded on different platforms under the same Dr. Corriel brand. So I'm on Instagram, and I use Pinterest and LinkedIn and Twitter and all those things.
So tell people how they can find that site. So spell it out for people because it's an audio medium.
Sure. So it's Dr. Corriel. That's DrCorriel, L as in Larry.com. Or just at Dr. Corriel. The social media handle is all the same. It's Dr. Corriel.
And spell it one more time, slowly.
DrCorriel as in Larry.
Perfect. And so you talked about wanting to get a creative outlet outside of medicine. Why was that important to you, number one? And two, how did that affect your practicing of medicine?
That's a great question. So why was it important for me? I think as physicians, we don't realize the importance of how useful finding an outlet is for us. And so when, I'm an example of someone that just went straight through. I didn't take a break because sometimes we have to do that to become physicians. We sort of dedicate our life and all our hours and a lot of money and just a lot of things to become physicians. And we have to push other things to the side because it's very difficult to become one. I mean, it's long hours that are dedicated to patient care and to studying and to passing these really super hard exams. So we sort of don't have time to do other things. And so I didn't even realize that until I took that break. And I suddenly found myself with time to discover myself. And I write about that a lot on my blog. And in general, I counsel and I help with patients and physicians with that, with finding outlets for what you're in what you're doing. Because even for non-physicians, it's super important to find something that truly speaks to you and is, I hate to use the cliche, but it's like a passion. So when you find that passion, it's sort of like you don't feel like you're working. You feel like you're just having fun. And that's what I found when I tapped into the creative factor of my life. And that was in my branding. And that's when I created SOMEDOCs, because I wanted to show that to other doctors that you can do this and it can have many, many benefits.
Great. And I asked that question specifically because in things that we do, that's the question I always ask physicians, especially those of them who are investors. I always ask the question is, what have you given up to become a physician? What part of you did you have to give up, to put to the side, put away, that if you had the time, you would then go back and re-explore? And how do you personally answer, I won't say the question, but the notion that as physicians, we should be fulfilled enough just by our profession?
This is such a deep topic, and it really speaks to me. It takes so much to be a physician. The best way I can explain it, I'm just thinking of like a good metaphor for people, is that you give your all to patients, right? You sit there day in and day out and you see so many patients, and I view it like a sponge, like you're sort of absorbing everyone's problems and illnesses. It gets to you. And it is heavy for us. And we're carrying that, we're like soaking in this like chronic illness that we're helping others with, and we're constantly giving. We sometimes tend to forget about ourselves. And I think that that's where a creative outlet and a space for you is important as a physician. I mean, we give so much to others. Sometimes we need to also think about us. And that's not coming from at all from a selfish perspective. It's coming from a place of avoiding burnout and physician wellness and being happy in life. And I know medicine is an amazing field. It really does a lot to us to help others, but you got to also help yourself. There's a reason why physicians are now the #1 field that leads to suicides, because there's a lot going on in the healthcare profession that is just not working well for physicians. And so we've got to find other ways to keep ourselves fulfilled.
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that. That's why one of the reasons why the Physicians Road was started was that idea specifically, that to be whole, our ego and who we are can't be wrapped up in a profession that we no longer control. So we have to create a way to create a full life that where medicine is a part of who we are, but is not the totality of who we are from that standpoint. So let's move to SOMEDOCs, and your baby, your brainchild. Why did you start it?
So when I created the Dr. Corriel brand and I started like engaging in it and writing in it and like, affecting patients and things like that, there was actually a lot of backlash in my personal life, whether it was from friends or from family or from people around me that were just saying like, what are you doing and why are you doing it? But I slowly started to see benefits in it. There weren't a lot of physicians on social media at the time, but I really, really saw the potential in doing it. And so I decided that was something that I wanted to share with other doctors and teach them. I also decided that there weren't enough platforms available where everybody can sort of work together. Because there's a need in healthcare right now, that we need to change healthcare. Something's not working because many physicians right now are unhappy. And so I wanted to create a medium, a place where we could all work together to do things like change healthcare, to do things like beat burnout, to do things like end pseudoscience. I also saw a niche for us that was completely unfilled. I mean, social media has been devoid of physicians for so long. I mean, other specialties have really been utilizing social media to their own benefits, to grow their businesses, to amplify their voices. And yet doctors, for whatever reason, are sort of like not weighing in. They're not taking that dive in, and we're needed in this space. And so that's where I created SOMEDOCs. I said, let me get these doctors to, first of all, understand the power of what social media has to add. And then let me get a space where we can do it together. Because as you probably know, the motto of SOMEDOCs is collaboration and not competition. I think together we can grow by working together and by working with each other rather than competing, which is sort of a lot of our backgrounds in medical schools, because we had to compete for those like few spots to get into med school and to survive in it.
Absolutely. You're referencing what we call the abundance mentality. Outside of medicine, in the business world, I break it down into two kinds of people. If you follow Dr. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about abundance mentality and scarcity mentality. Scarcity mentality is a zero-sum game world. Either if I get it, you don't, and vice versa. The abundance mentality says 1 and 1 equals 3 or more, in that the pie is infinitely large when people work together. And it's refreshing for you from that standpoint, because there are many physicians, even in the social media space, who are very much scarcity mentality. They're very much about trying to, I don't want to say create barriers, but to create their own fiefdoms. And you are refreshing in that you don't do that. You understand the power of collaboration. You understand the power of abundance. And that's why I really wanted to have you on, because I believe in working with people who display the abundance mentality and understand that together we will all create more for all of us. Me helping you doesn't take away from me. You helping me doesn't take away from you. We're going to collaborate to move forward. How did you come to that understanding, being in medicine? Because it's very rare for physicians to have that understanding.
What a great question. I don't know if it's my background as an only child and just always thriving on the social settings, or if it's just experience through the years and becoming older and just really seeing the power of connection. Maybe it's also just being an integrative part of other professions and seeing that in other professions this worked, that they're working together alongside one another, really amplified each other. I saw that, and I really felt an absence of it in the medical profession, especially in the social media space. I was seeing a lot of competition, and I actually personally felt it when I had my own brand. There were already some groups that were in existence, and you know what? Some of them are wonderful, but some of them were limiting, and it's really not a good feeling when you're sort of trying to post about things that are just like innocent, like you're trying to change healthcare, right? Or you're trying to teach other doctors, right? And your post gets deleted, or you're being told that you can't really do this or that. And that's fine. I think I look up to people that can like grow things from a business perspective, because in some ways I'm trying to grow SOMEDOCs too from a business perspective, but I want to do it in an amplification sort of way. Like I want to grow SOMEDOCs by helping physicians. And so that's the basis of the group. And I think it's important to share that.
Perfect. That is great. So kind of born out of the same experiences. I think we've had some similar experiences in that realm. And so let's talk about SOMEDOCs 10 years from now. Overarching vision. What does it look like? What has it done? Not for you, let's just say as a platform, because I'm going to go into you in a second. But your 10-year vision, what does it look like? What's it doing in the world? How is it amplifying messages?
So you said something that was very important for me, is that we're amplifying everyone on SOMEDOCs, meaning SOMEDOCs is why I created this. I did not create it from me. Like I have my own brand and it's completely separate, and I do that purposely. My hours and my time, and at this point, really, it's my part-time job is SOMEDOCs. I want people to really understand that. When I'm amplifying you on my time. And when I say you, I don't mean you, Eric Tait, although I love your podcast and I do amplify it. I amplify everyone that's on the SOMEDOCs platform that is speaking for science and for evidence-based medicine. I do it with my own time by retweeting people's tweets, and by tagging people that are fabulous, and by sort of constantly coming up with really creative ways of connecting us in that platform that's the physician-only group.
So tell me, 10 years from now, SOMEDOCs, the platform, what is it doing? What is it effectuating? What influence has it had out there?
Goal of SOMEDOCs is first and foremost to amplify others, to amplify all doctors on social media. It's been my baby, but it's not about me. I considered actually in the first place naming it after me, but I decided that wasn't necessarily inclusive of everyone, and it wasn't the way that I wanted to go. And so I named it SOMEDOCs for a reason, and I wanted to stress that right now, just to say that this is a group collective. The purpose of it is to grow you if you're a doctor on social media. The way I see it growing is multifold. First of all, we've been featured in a lot of media outlets. And so we were on the front cover of Gastroenterology and Endoscopy News recently in their 40th edition magazine. And that was amazing. I really appreciated that. And another way is I recently wrote an article for a Condé Nast magazine, and it's in the works right now. So hopefully that's going to get published. And that just goes to show how nice it is to help with amplifying others, because I was able to bring in about 15 or 20 physicians to name them and have some of their quotes in it, which hopefully will amplify them. And that's sort of how that connection works, and the amplification we talked about, collaborating. But the future for me of SOMEDOCs looks this way. First of all, changing healthcare. Uniting in a physician front, because at the end of the day, physicians advocate for physicians and for patients, and that's who we care about. And so we need to get stronger together. And so amplifying and changing, amplifying ourselves and changing healthcare. But secondly, I have some plans that are in the works. We've already started SOMEDOCs Engage. SOMEDOCs Engage is the live meetup portion of our group. because while there's so much value in the virtual tools of today, there's also added benefits to actually meeting face-to-face. There's added benefits to speaking and communicating and looking at each other's body language, which is, for example, why you and I right now are doing video, right, in addition to audio. It helps. Body language helps. Sometimes we misconstrue stories. Sometimes we misconstrue words and texts. So that's really important in the collaboration and networking of physicians. So that's SOMEDOCs Engage. I'm the one that's leading the New York City contingency, and I have leaders in all over the US, actually, and even possibly internationally. Shika Jane is my moderator at this point on the group, in the Facebook group. I'm looking to bring in some more moderators. Nancy Yee is doing Oregon. I've got a whole bunch of doctors. Amy Shaw's doing Arizona. I've got doctors in a lot of the states, in major cities within each state, having a meetup. And so you can check those out on our website. We have a website called SOMEDOCs.com, and I'm going to have a special section on SOMEDOCs Engage. And that's just going to have like a live roll of where the next live meetup is. So that's number one. And then number two is SOMEDOCs Consulting, which is something I'm looking to grow, a branch of SOMEDOCs, which offers consulting services to people that are looking to grow their brand. So services on Instagram and services on Pinterest. And if you need help with setting up your website, someone to do that. And so that's yet another thing. And then another thing that's in the works, hopefully, are conferences, which I'm looking to grow possibly. But I'm looking at it as just a big organization where physicians can grow together.
Got it. Perfect. And so that is the larger vision. Now I'm going to take it down to the you level. What SOMEDOCs has done for you personally, from a career standpoint, from an opportunity standpoint, and just, feel free to share the things that you are willing to share. But what I want the listeners to understand, because this is in the personal development realm, is that your career can be helped by your creative outlets. And so what I'm trying to show as models of how people have taken career paths that may not necessarily have been what they expected, but are fulfilling nonetheless in being outside of being a physician only. So was there anything you would like to talk about in terms of opportunities, what it's done for your career, those types of things with starting the platform? The two platforms.
Yeah, of course. I think that, the first platform, that's my platform, Dr. Corriel, that helps to connect with patients. And so that's an example of why people need to become SOMEDOCs. They need to take on social media, because I've seen benefits that have been incredible. Doors have opened I would never imagine could open. And so things like connecting with patients on a deeper level, things like actually getting patients. I have SOMEDOCs that are emailing me all the time, every day, saying, your platform has really helped to bring in patients. I see 2 to 3, let's say, new patients a week. Makes my day. And that's what I did when I grew my brand, the Dr. Corriel brand. And so that's what SOMEDOCs is looking to teach others. On a personal level, I think that it has helped me network big time. I have met so many incredible power players in this country, not just in social media, but in healthcare. I've been connected. I've been able to go to Washington, D.C. I was invited to be part of something with Dr. Marian Mass, who's looking to make changes in healthcare. I have spoken at a Harvard conference because of the amazing Dr. Julie Silver, who puts on these ridiculous conferences that everyone should attend. I'm going to speak at Dr. Erica Howe's conference in the Grand Cayman coming up in February. But opportunities come when you put yourself out there. If you don't put yourself out there, then nobody's going to know you're out there. Nobody's going to know what your level of expertise is or what you have to offer. And so that's sort of the selling point of come and join SOMEDOCs. Not that I need to sell anything. It doesn't cost money. And that's what doctors don't appreciate here is this is a free platform. The virtual world is free. And so you could literally get on it and you can expand your business. You can amplify your voice. You could discover something about yourself that you never knew that you had. And so that to me is huge. And so if you're not in it, get on it.
Perfect. Actually, that was a perfect segue to the next question, because my next question was, what do you wish other physicians knew or realized about being active on social media? Well, I guess you answered that, so we won't need to reiterate that. But let's talk about it, because some physicians have a reticence about being on it. You put a poll up and asked about that. Talk about that a little bit. What are the big fears that physicians are telling you they have about being on social media? And what are your answers to those fears?
The number one answer was getting something wrong, saying something wrong. And I completely get that because I can relate. Everyone's scared. Everyone's scared of social media. I want to make the distinction on this is something that I teach when I go into the conferences and I do sort of one-on-one sessions, is that you have to understand that there's a difference between using social media socially, I know it has the name social media, and using it for a business perspective and to amplify yourself and to sort of, the reach is just indescribable. The things that you can do in it is indescribable. You can't even begin to imagine what you could get done in it from a business perspective. And so you don't have to be on it from a social media, but from a social perspective. For example, the SOMEDOCs Facebook group. Physicians will say to me, I don't want to go on it because I don't have a Facebook account. And I say to them, you can literally just make an account to join this private group. It's a private group. So I vet all the physicians and make sure that they're physicians and that they're doctors, in growing the group. So nobody has to know that you're on it. Some physicians use fake names. As long as you can prove who you are, you can get behind the scenes in this physician-only space. Now, you have to always be careful. I mean, you have to always understand that we're physicians and that we're in a place where there's legalities. And so you want to be careful about the things that you say. You don't want to give personal advice. I mean, at this point in the game, I think all of us physicians that are listening to this know that already. So that doesn't have to be rehashed necessarily, but it's something that does need to be said.
Well, actually, I always take it from the standpoint that my listeners are 5 years old, not that they are, but I don't ever want to make assumptions. So my next question was actually about what are the best practices on social media for physicians that you've seen so far? So you talked about separating kind of the social aspect from the business aspect. Can you go into that a little bit deeper in terms of kind of best practices? Someone's new to social media. They're like, hey, I just got a Facebook account, Twitter, LinkedIn. What would be your advice? What would be your counsel to someone who is a complete newbie at this?
Right. So first of all, I'm not a lawyer, but from a physician perspective on social media, and this is, again, because I'm not a lawyer, this is not like advice that's legal.
No.
But I would say it is platform specific, and there is actual etiquette that goes along with each platform that you should acquaint yourself with. And that's why social media is a whole new beast to physicians, because we may know healthcare, but we may not necessarily know social media. And that's why a lot of times we do need help, and we need each other for amplification, because we don't always know the etiquette. Each platform has its own etiquette. And so you take a platform like Twitter, right, where people tweet, and it's okay to tweet a lot during a day. In fact, I call it diarrhea. It's like diarrhea of the mouth. It's diarrhea of the tweeting bird. I mean, you should be tweeting a lot because that's what gains traction. Whereas a different platform, let's say LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is much more business oriented. You don't want to post a lot. Really, that's more business oriented. You want to do, you want to sort of build a brand, but sort of, quietly, and one post at a time. And so it's important to know which platform you're on and to maximize how you're using it, but to also use etiquette while using it. So something that's fairly obvious to me, but like you said, you sort of treat the audience like they're younger, is be respectful. And I think across the board, people in medicine in general are respectful to one another, but there's a lot of opinions. I mean, you've got a lot of controversy in medicine, and you got a lot of people saying, I know this, well, I know this better. No, I know this better. Be respectful. Do things in a congenial manner. Give people the benefit of the doubt. You can't really gauge emotion in a text and words, and so reach out to people on a personal basis. I could tell you from a personal perspective that just in the past 24 hours, I had something that may have been misconstrued. And so I reached out personally and I spoke to the people that were involved just to sort of hash out and make sure that we were on the same page. So social media may be a very powerful tool, but it also has a lot of negatives. It's a double-edged sword. So you got to be really careful, and you got to learn the etiquette for each and every platform. And that's where coming into social media and coming into SOMEDOCs is important. So join our Facebook group or just follow our advice on the SOMEDOCs.com website.
Got it. And so you actually named 2 platforms. We talked about LinkedIn. We talked about Twitter. What are your other, so there's Facebook, of course. What are your other platforms that you like, and what is the usual etiquette on those platforms? Can you give a little excerpt on that?
Yeah, so I use all platforms for my personal brand. That's the Dr. Corriel brand. In the SOMEDOCs brand, we have a Twitter account and, like I said, a Facebook group, and we also have a website, SOMEDOCs.com. But the members of the SOMEDOCs group are actually hashtagging all their work with the hashtag SOMEDOCs hashtag in order to link up their work on all platforms. So if you land on Pinterest, and again, I also have a Pinterest board that's SOMEDOCs, but if you land on Pinterest or on LinkedIn and want to find what kind of work is hashtagged under SOMEDOCs or who are the SOMEDOCs, you would just have to put in hashtag SOMEDOCs. But some of those other brands, some of those other platforms are Instagram. So Instagram is very photo friendly. If you're creative in the photo realm and you like to create things, and also you're very sort of creative and piecing together photos like I am, then Instagram may appeal to you. And of course, within Instagram, there's all kinds of function, and it's like its own world. Then there's LinkedIn, like I said, very professional oriented. A lot less posting per day. Pinterest is, that's something where it's sort of photo oriented, but you use it to drive traffic into a website that you have established or a blog. And there's a lot of pinning and things, a lot of communication with other Pinterest users using that platform. Twitter is about words. It's, if you like to just make a lot of statements that are succinct, that's perfect for you. And then there's Facebook, which is sort of like, that encompasses all. You can sort of create your own brand on Facebook, but you can also join other brands and amplify your own brand there. So groups like SOMEDOCs are on Facebook. And you can even have your own personal profile. Again, some people do want to use it socially, and that's where you can use Facebook either on a social level or on a business level.
Got it. I think that's a succinct, perfect way to break down each of those platforms and the kind of 50,000-foot view of their usage. So kind of lastly, what didn't I ask you kind of in this interview that you might want to get out to what is primarily a physician-focused audience about social media and physicians? Closing thoughts, anything that's running through your mind currently?
I have so much to say, but I guess the one thing I would say is just try to keep an open mind. I know that all of us trained in the sciences, I know that we're all very medical, but we have a gift, we have a degree, and we're all experts in our own field. First and foremost, please understand that you can now amplify that expertise to more than just a one-on-one visit behind closed doors. You can use social media to teach the world evidence-based medicine. So that's number one. And then number two, I do want to stress collaboration. No matter where it is that you decide to collaborate, understand that we're here for one another. We're all doing our own thing, but we're doing it, we can do it in parallel, but we also need to connect. We have to grow branches and work together, because that's the best way to change healthcare, to amplify our voices, and to just in general be happy.
I think that's a perfect way to end the conversation. And so what I want to do is kind of allow you to give everyone how to reach your platforms. Basically, I'm going to let you have a commercial for yourself and spell everything out twice, slowly, so people can write it down. Again, this is an audio medium primarily. I will, on the show notes page, put a link to everything that you tell us. And for those listening, it'll just be thephysiciansroad.com/SOMEDOCs, SOMEDOCS. So /SOMEDOCs. But go ahead, please give us your commercial. Tell us about how people can contact you, interact with you. Go.
Okay, so first and foremost, you can contact me by email, drcorriel@gmail.com. That's DrCorriel Dr. Corriel. That's my brand. You really can find me everywhere using that brand. So drcorriel.com. Dr. Corriel is on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, everywhere. You just type in the search box Dr. Corriel. Again, DrCorriel as in Larry. Now for the big brand SOMEDOCs, it's spelled like SOMEDOCs, SOMEDOCs. And we have a website, SOMEDOCs.com. You can find it on doctorsonsocialmedia.com if that's easier. You can find it on Facebook by typing into your search box, Doctors on Social Media, and by requesting to join. And you can find us on Twitter at SOMEDOCs. You can also find all of the SOMEDOCs work by using the hashtag SOMEDOCs. And one last time, it's spelled SOMEDOCs.
Perfect. So I want to thank Dr. Donna Corriel for being with us. We're happy to have her back over time as the social media landscape changes, as the SOMEDOCs brand grows and adds more branches to it. And so I look forward to having her back on to kind of talk about the evolution and also talk about new initiatives that are being put forward to connect physicians across all of the social media platforms. I want to thank everyone for listening to the Physicians Row podcast today. Please go to iTunes or the podcast platform of your choice. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so that you can get automatic downloads whenever we release a new one. You can also find all of our episodes on thephysiciansroad.com, and there's an episodes tab, and you can search it by the 5 different pathways that we talk about. And then lastly, we have a Facebook group as well. You can just go to Facebook and put in The Physicians Road. You'll come up, just answer a couple questions, and we will add you on there, where we have more in-depth discussions around the topics that we talk about here on the episodes. So again, thanks, Donna.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, Eric. I had a great time.
The Physicians Road is brought to you by Vernonville Asset Management. Vernonville Asset Management was created to help physicians build wealth and create income beyond Wall Street. Through our exclusive private investments, doctors can begin to free themselves from the burdensome regulations in healthcare by creating income streams independent of medicine. Go to IncomeBeyondWallStreet.com to get your free report, Wall Street's Biggest Lie. Again, go to IncomeBeyondWallStreet.com to get Wall Street's Biggest Lie and free yourself today.
Thank you for listening to The Physicians Road, where you create your life in medicine on your own terms. Please go to thephysiciansroad.com and sign up for your free guides and resources.